This is the For Impact Podcast, the destination for impact-driven entrepreneurs striving to live life on their terms and create a ripple effect of positive impact in the communities they serve. Where we put your success stories center stage, dissecting the lessons learned and sharing insights and ideas that'll help you amplify your impact. And now, here's your host, Jared Ernie.
All right, welcome everyone. I'm so excited for you guys to meet a good coach and friend of mine, Aleric Heck. And some of you may know him, some may not, but a lot know him as the YouTube guy. He started his YouTube channel when he was 12 and turned it into a multi-million-dollar coaching program, helping entrepreneurs cut through the noise and attract their ideal clients through the power of video, one of the most powerful ways to connect with people online. His business ad outreach has been featured in the Inc. 500 twice, ranked the fastest growing company in Austin. And more importantly than his speaking, accomplishments, awards, is his desire to create positive impact in the communities he serves. And so I want to give a warm welcome to Aleric Heck. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me here, Jared. I'm so excited. This is gonna be awesome.
Well, for those of you who, for those listeners who may not have heard you or listened to you before, could you kind of set the stage and give them a little bit of your backstory and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I started out on YouTube 14 years ago. It was totally different platform back then. That was back in 2009. I was reviewing mobile apps, doing tech tutorials, teaching people how to use their iPhone for the first time. And those videos, have millions of views. It's something I'm actually still proud of is, having taught millions of people how to use their iPhone for the first time. And so I remember, creating those videos, growing that channel. It grew to about 500,000 subscribers. And one day, I had a particular app, a social media networking app. They, paid me to do a video on the channel, a sponsorship. And we published the video. They get a bunch of downloads. Like, this is great, but how can we get more people to see this video? And this is about 8 years ago now. And I decided, well, what if we just run a YouTube ad to it? So we put $500 behind a simple YouTube ad, and they drove over 11,000 users in just 1 week from those YouTube ads I set up. And they were blown away. I was actually in college at the time. They called me up. They're like, all right, Aleric, we want you to drop out, fly out here to Silicon Valley, join our team. You can run YouTube ads for all of our apps. And I turned it down. And instead, that's where I created ad outreach 8 years ago. And originally it was YouTube ads for mobile apps, and of course, expanding into businesses, which, predominantly serving a wide array of different businesses. And also, of course, having the pleasure of working with Jared as well. I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit of that too. But really like working with businesses that help them use the power of YouTube ads to get more consistent leads and sales. And so, since founding that, we've grown pretty rapidly, grown our team to about 35 people. We got our office here in downtown Austin, Texas, and have worked with now thousands of businesses to help them learn how to use YouTube ads to get more leads and sales.
Aleric, what were some of maybe the early challenges you faced when launching your business, and how did you overcome them? And what kind of lessons did you learn in that process?
Yeah, so some of the early challenges that I had, honestly, those challenges were figuring out, and I think within ad outreach, I think that's a big area, is figuring out, how to actually delegate and bring people into it. So I think is a lot of, and I'll get into some of the later challenges here too. But really it was being that person that always wanted just to do it all, wanted to do a lot of stuff. And also I pride myself in being able to go and pick something up and learn and do different things. And so I was being a lot of the different pieces of the business. And, I remember hiring Julia, who's my COO, and she kind of goes even all the way back to some of those early college days. We really kind of built things up together. She's in the office right next door to me over here in Austin. But, I think that hiring people early on and delegating, and especially delegating things I was really good at. So that wasn't the operation. That was easier. Okay, I need your help with this. But more so like marketing and sales and things that, were in my wheelhouse, and, actually really letting other people go out and do these types of things. I think those were some of the challenges earlier on, was, delegating things, especially if there's a little bit of that curve where, I'm doing them better but I know that I need to delegate to get that scale because there's only so much I can do as that business owner.
What would you say, because that's such great advice, and I've heard you give me that advice too. What would you say for like smaller businesses that are just trying to like get to a place where they can get themselves to focus more on growth and get them out of the daily tasks? Like, what would be the first thing they should be looking at to making a hire, you think?
So I am definitely a big believer that you should hire complementary skill sets, especially early on. Now, some people disagree with that and they say to pull yourself out of the things you're best at. I disagree with that. I think you should pull yourself out of the things that you're not as good at and bring people in that are great at those things. So for me, I know that sales and marketing, that is a big skill set. Now, I understand the importance of really strong operations. Also, I love supporting clients and, I still love, diving in and helping our clients succeed. And at the same time, I also know that there's people that might have, more like A to Z, like, all right, here is how we could be a little bit more patient, re-explaining the same thing multiple times. I like new and exciting and innovating new strategy or, working with high level clients. And so I knew the first couple things that I needed to hire for, it was complementary skills. I knew sales and marketing made sense for me to continue to do. And then I hired for operations and pulled myself out of that. And with that operations, that's where Julia came in and she was able to really make sure that everything was organized. I'm, visionary entrepreneur. I like to create things quickly. If it was up to me, I would be doing a million different things. But Julia makes sure we limit those things and we actually follow through and get, the systems in place to repeat them. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, it's also when it comes to, the second hire, big hire that I made was, another kind of person that can support on the training and client success side. Whereas, I had all the pieces of, all right, here's what our clients need to do. Here's the YouTube ad strategy. I innovated all of that. When it came to directly integrating with clients, the thing that was also challenging for me was explaining the same thing over and over again. And so I wanted to hire somebody that loves to do that and loves to take people and see that journey. And then that way I could focus on innovating the strategy and helping clients at a higher level while we had people kind of helping day to day. So those were the first couple hires I made. And it actually went down the path of, what are going from my least skill set to most skill set. So then I, later on, I think actually hired some things within these categories, right? So more client success people. Then I hired sales, and then I hired out marketing last, which is my highest skill set. Mm-hmm. So that's what I recommend, is starting with the thing that you're maybe not as that's just not your main core expertise, and find somebody that loves that. Julia on our team loves operations, so it's perfect.
I heard you give me advice once. I've always kept on to this, so I'd love for you to touch on this advice too for those listening. Don't make a decision based on where you are now. Look at where you want to be and make a decision for that. Could you touch on that for our group here?
Yes, this is a really, really valuable point. I'm so glad that you still carry on to that. And I remember talking with you about that. A big thing that gets people stuck is making decisions based on where they're at right now, but not based on where they want to go. Because ultimately, the person you are and the business that you are for where you're looking to go is different, and the decisions that you're going to make are different. But if you keep making decisions for where you're at today, then you're going to get yourself stuck in a loop, right? If you hire the people that's going to help your business grow today, then you might not have the people you need to get your business where it needs to be tomorrow. If you spend the ad spend that generates the amount of leads that generate the amount of book calls, that generate the amount of sales, or maybe it's not book calls for people here, but maybe leads that brings people in the door to your business. If you do that today, then you might not get the influx, the growth that you want tomorrow. You need to actually make decisions based on where you want to go. So the trap people fall into, I'll use a very simple example. Let's say you have two employees in these couple areas, and some of you might be beyond that, some of you might be still ramping up. But let's say you've got a couple employees, but where you want to go. Let's say you want to double the business. You're going to need 4, right? Same thing with ad spend. Let's say right now you're spending $3,000 a month on ads, but which is generating, let's just say it's generating 30 appointments. And then from that, you're generating maybe 10 new clients, but you want 20 new clients. Well, then you're going to eventually need to spend $6,000. Now, obviously, you can improve ads. We could talk about ad strategy, maybe switching from Facebook over to YouTube. We'll talk about the benefits of YouTube, and that's another shortcut people can do. But let's just say you're not changing that. If you're ramping it up, then you might know you need to spend $6,000 on ads to generate those 60 calls, to generate those 20 clients. Now, it doesn't mean you have to turn the dial all the way. What if you just hire that next employee? So you go to 3, knowing you want to get to 4. Maybe you take your ads up to 4,500, knowing you want to get to 6,000, right? But you have to make that decision first. And I'm using just simple numbers here because that's what's going to set you on the path. You can't just do the same thing over and over again and expect magically to leapfrog to where you want to go. You do need to make those decisions based on where you're looking to go. And by the way, increasing efficiency is another decision. Maybe you get there by increasing efficiency, and that is a path as well. That said, it's still looking at, where do I want to go? Where's the gap? And how do I close that gap? And that, I think, is the key. You're not just going to get there without making the decisions based on where you want to go.
That's awesome advice. Thank you. Kind of going back a little bit, could you share a specific moment or experience that taught you a valuable lesson about entrepreneurship that you still hold on today?
Yeah. So I think a really valuable, there's so many. There's so many. Yeah. I think a really valuable lesson that I got, and this was actually, and I remember telling you about this, over from Jay Abraham. I was at the Paris mastermind, and this was, and talk about a ritzy place. We were at the Ritz-Carlton Paris, and and it was also in the fall. It was all kind of perfect out there. I was staying at the time. I was staying at the Hilton down the street because it was the Ritz-Carlton Paris. I think was like $4,000 or $5,000 a night. But anyways, I was rolling up there. This was back in 2019. I was walking in like, oh my goodness, there's gold everywhere. And I went in, and I remember this was an experience of being in a room where a lot of the people who had businesses that were bigger and more established than mine. And I think that also this goes to show anybody who's here on this call, you're all here learning from Jared, right? You're learning from people that have built and can help you implement these types of things. There's such a value in mentorship and having people. And, Jared's gone through, our, kind of process. We've got our Ad Astra and Platinum, programs and stuff where we help with YouTube ads and business. And I think that it's always finding mentors that are kind of ahead of you. So anyways, that's not the main lesson, but that's what I found in Jay. And so I was there at this event. There's also some other consultants there too. And I had the opportunity to get a 20-minute hot seat. And I remember I was so excited because I had recently ramped up the business a little bit more. This was back in 2019. And I was spending about $25,000 on ads, and bringing in around 200,000. It was kind of fluctuating, but around that 200,000. And so pretty strong return on ad spend, around that 9x return on ad spend. And I remember the interesting thing that Jay asked me was, why not spend more? and I thought about well, that's what we're spending right now to generate this. And that's what we did. He said, well, what would happen if you spent 40,000? I was like, well, or no, 50,000, which is kind of double that 25. Well, what would happen if you spent 50,000? I said, well, we would generate more revenue. And he's like, well, let's actually walk through it. Let's walk through an exercise. Let's play out your, most likely best case scenario and most likely minimum case scenario. He might have called it worst case. I don't like to use worst case because, but let's just say, what's kind of the potential best case and what's kind of a minimum case, right? If it doesn't go according to plan, right? And we mapped out, okay, well, best case is we double the revenue. We go from 200 to 400,000. And, when we go up to 50K. But I also said there's a degree of diminishing returns. So that's a little bit less likely, but that's best. And he's like, well, what's a minimum case? Let's just say, it really doesn't go according to plan. You put an extra 25K in ads. I said, honestly, I can't see us doing anything less than making $50,000 more from that. So 250K total, right? Just still a 2x return. And then he said, well, what do you think is going to happen? I said, honestly, it's probably going to be somewhere maybe around like 100,000 more, like 300,000, just because I did know there was a reason I was spending that amount. There was a degree of diminishing returns over it. And so he said, okay, let me get this straight. You right now are spending $25,000 a month on ads, and you're bringing 200,000. And what you're telling me is you've mapped out the scenarios of spending an extra 25,000. So what you're looking is potentially you've got 25,000, right? And you're telling me that best case you make 200,000, most likely you make 100,000, and your minimum case is 50,000. And honestly, the absolute worst case is you lose the 25,000. But you know what you have? You have a case of risk arbitrage, where you're potentially risking 25,000 that you're not even telling me you're risking. You're telling me most likely, even if it doesn't go according to plan, you'll still make money from that. So you're not really risking anything. But he said, honestly, though, let's just say you lose that whole amount. That's 25,000, but you stand to potentially make maximum 200, and you think it's going to be 100. And even if it doesn't go according to plan, you're telling me you double your money. I would take those odds any day. And he said, obviously, in different ways, because Jay has like kind of this great kind of way about him, definitely more eloquent than I said it here. But that was a really defining moment where I thought about, ultimately, and there's a great book on this too, Thinking in Bets. But ultimately, when you're like in business, what you're doing is there's a lot of these kind of bets that you're making, right? You're making a decision, you're seeing what the outcome's going to be, you're deciding where, what you want to do. And ultimately, if you are faced with a situation where you have a great best case scenario that far outweighs your, minimum case scenario, then that's a bet that you should take. And I think that that's a really valuable piece of advice. And you know what I did after that? Over the next year, scaled up the business over 4 times. And we ended up over the course of, that was in 2019, by the end of 2020, we had scaled, we had about 4x the business, and then we doubled the business again going into 2021. And so ultimately, that led to a lot of rapid growth, and where you see, things on the Inc. 5000 list. And, and it's not always like that. Right now, it's not as simple as dial up the ads, because now at a certain level, when you get to like 8 figures, there's more things with your team. And also there's a certain degree with your offers and retention and recurring. And those are new lessons that I'm learning. And I always love being open about that. There's so much I don't know. But one big thing that I did learn about scaling and growth is risk arbitrage. And that was a very valuable lesson.
That's an amazing story. And thanks for sharing that. I do remember that. And I've used that now as a model in how I think about things in my own business. I think the interesting thing that I've learned also from you, Aleric, is you have to think about things differently to go through growth. And one of the things you teach a lot about is the entrepreneur mindset. Would you share what that is for you to our audience as well?
Oh, thank you so much, Aaron. And the entrepreneur's mindset is really, really valuable. And it's honestly something that I have had for a long time. But now that I've put a word behind it and I teach it and I inspire other people to adopt it, it's really something that I live by. I really encourage our team to live by. I call it entrepreneur's mindset, but for our team, I want all of us to have that entrepreneurial mindset. And then for all of you as entrepreneurs, I really want you to have and adopt this. And it goes hand in hand with the risk arbitrage I just talked about. So I'll explain that in a second. But essentially, what the entrepreneur's mindset is in every single decision you make, it results in an outcome that's going to move you forward. It's either going to be a win and a success that you can double down on and build up, or it's going to be a learning lesson that you can learn from and adapt and do things better the next time. And so essentially it looks at every decision that you make allows you to progress further, even if it looks like you had a setback or you made a mistake or things pulled back a little bit. As long as you learn from that lesson, then you can compound that to see growth. And so essentially every decision that you have, it's either going to be a win and a success that you can learn from that success and learn what to do again, or it's going to be a learning lesson of what didn't work. And then you can iterate and change and now flip that into something that you can use to be a building block for future wins. And I know that I have people ask me, well, what if I have a really big mistake or a failure? What I would say is there are really two true failures. The first is the ultimate failure, right? This is the failure to continue. This is to give up. And this is to give up when you have a goal and a mind, set. Doesn't mean, I'm not talking about pivoting. If you decide that you want to pursue something different, that's a different thing. But if you truly give up, you decide to go, and stop that, you're in complete control over whether you give up or not, right? So that's the first true failure. The second true failure is the failure to learn. This is the more insidious one, because this is where you're potentially destined to repeat your mistakes. And this is why people don't grow from that entrepreneur unless they adopt something like an entrepreneur's mindset. Because what a lot of people do is they see successes, they learn from successes, they do more of it, but then they have a lot of mistakes and challenges. And the reality is a lot of the tests that you do, right, are going to either be neutral or potentially be a mistake, and then you'll have some home runs. But those mistakes, if you learn from them, you'll make less of them, right? And then that way you have more wins. So the people that you see winning more than they're losing are people that have actually gone through a lot of those learning lessons themselves and compounded them. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, I'm sure Jared can too, and every single person on this call, we're all exactly the same. We've all faced challenges, mistakes, things that we can learn from and use to grow. And so I think it's really important that we look at that and we say, okay, how can I avoid those two true failures and actually learn from any mistake? And then, was it really a failure if you learn from it? Not necessarily, right? Because it might just be a piece of doing business that's going to teach you what you need to do next. And that doesn't mean going out and seeking mistakes. You always want it, which again means that you wouldn't be learning if you're trying to seek it out. You want to seek out the winners. And naturally, there's going to be some challenges that you face. And if you learn from those, then you're less likely to take that path in the future and more likely to stack more wins on the other side of the table. And so ultimately, the entrepreneur's mindset is to see everything as a win or a learning lesson. And when you look at it that way, ultimately, that also means speed of decision, and going out and doing more is going to always help advance you if you're always learning. Because the more tests you do, the more you learn what works and what doesn't work. And that's how you can compound what does work.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Probably now I would like to take a little turn on this. And since we're talking to the YouTube King here, will you share us with this group the power of YouTube and how that can make sense for like a local business leveraging YouTube today?
Absolutely. So there is a big power in leveraging YouTube and YouTube ads. And ultimately, YouTube is where people are going when they're looking to learn, right? They're in the learner's mindset. On Facebook and other platforms, again, there are, benefits to different platforms, but with Facebook, people are kind of scrolling, right? They're kind of scrolling by. You might interrupt them and they might click on it, but it's not necessarily them actually looking and learning. On YouTube, they're going and they're typing in, okay, how do I do this? Or what's the best thing for that? And ultimately, and I see somebody I'll just use this as an example. I see, I think Fuzion it says driving school. So it makes it easy. I'll use that as an example. It's good to see you here, Fuzion. And forgive me if I pronounced that incorrectly. Somebody who also has a unique name, but anyways, let's say that you're looking to advertise what you're doing with YouTube ads. Well, there's probably people looking up right now on YouTube and on Google, how do I pass the driving, exam? Like, how can I find, how can I learn, to take the driver's test? Like, how do you parallel park? All those different things. You also could have people searching on Google, and and that's one of the big things that Jared helps you with is optimizing your Google My Business profile. People are searching for you on Google. They're also searching for content on YouTube. What you could do is you can reach people, whether they've searched on YouTube or on Google, you can reach them on YouTube. There's a certain type of YouTube ad called a custom intent audience where we can target people on YouTube based on recent Google searches. We can also target them based on what they're searching for on YouTube and overall what they're interested in. We can even target people based on in-market audiences where we say we want to reach people in the market for driving schools, driver's ed, whatever it happens to be. And so ultimately, what we can do is reach people on YouTube who are looking up things around driving schools or driving education on Google, or watching those types of videos on YouTube, and then we can reach them next time they appear on YouTube with an ad that appears in front of a video, hooks them and captures their attention. So the first step is the hook, it pulls them in. You then educate and talk about why your driving school is going to be better, right? How it has a better, rate of success on the exams and all the different benefits that you have. And, again, you would know that for your business. And then a call to action at the end to get them to click the link at the end to take action. And so it's the same thing, regardless of what type of business it is. I remember working with a local business that did, that had a Brazilian barbecue business back in Massachusetts, near where I used to live. I'm here in Austin, Texas now, but I used to be back in the Boston area. And we worked with, I remember Rodrigo, and he's still running his YouTube ads to this day. Back then, we used to hook everything up to like our own like accounts and stuff. And so, some of the early, we can see some of that. But anyways, but basically, we helped him set up ads for the relaunch of his Brazilian steakhouse that included a free appetizer, right? When they come in. And those ads are really successful because it had a bunch of B-roll showcasing the Brazilian steakhouse. It has a call out. It first says, we want to invite you to our Brazilian steakhouse and then the name of the city. And then you only target around that area. How often do you see ads on YouTube that are for your local city? Probably not a lot. A lot of the ads are more broad. So that in of itself is a hook and a pattern interrupt for a local business. So you call that out, we're doing our grand reopening of our Brazilian steakhouse here. And I think it was Medford, but I could be incorrect. But anyways, and to celebrate, we want to give you a free appetizer with any entree purchase. We're so excited to have you out here. And, we've been cooking up great food, et cetera, et cetera. And it shows a bunch of B-roll and all of this. And then it gives them the link to go and click and get the coupon. And then they can track that through the coupon. And so ultimately, that's the type of ad that most other restaurants aren't going to be running. Most other driving schools aren't going to be running that. And ultimately, you get to be on the cutting edge because people are now just diving into Facebook, right? Google search, that's been pretty entrenched locally now. People are just diving into Facebook. You get to be on the cutting edge on YouTube where most local businesses don't live. And that's an opportunity for you, especially to call out the city at the beginning. That's one big thing with local ads, is to call out the city at the beginning of the ad.
Great tip. Thank you for sharing that. I was going to ask another on that kind of creating the ad idea for a local business owner who's like, man, I don't know how to create a good video, or the production needs to be spot on. Like, what kind of tips would you have to create an effective video for someone who may not have a big production ability or may be a little nervous to be on camera?
Yeah. So you don't even need big productions or big cameras or all of that. And I know, this is one of the things, that we dove into early on, Jared, as well, is like, basically all you need is your iPhone camera and a gimbal. Think about the ads that if you came in to Jared's, business through a YouTube ad, following the strategy we're talking about, it's a simple YouTube ad setup. And what you can do is you can take the camera. These cameras have a really good, or these iPhones have a really good camera these days. And then you attach to a tool called a gimbal that you could buy on Amazon, $100 to $150. You can look it up. It's just gimbal, GIMBAL, gimbal. It's like iPhone gimbal. And then you hook it up there and it just stabilizes it. So if your hand's moving, it's not shaky. The camera already has a great camera, already a great microphone. If you're going to be outside, use AirPods or something, because the wind with the regular microphone, sometimes it can affect that. And then there you go. You can record a video, and the hook include the city, include something exciting about your business and what you're offering. If there's a special promotion, to educate, why are you the best? What do you have to offer? Show some B-roll. And then call to action. This is for specifically local businesses. It's going to be different if I'm talking about coaching business, things like that. And then the call to action at the end is getting them to take action from that ad. And, whatever your special promotion call to action happens to be, recommend collecting a lead a lead though, and not just having people call a number, not just having people go to, your main website. I would send people to a lead form so you can capture their name, email, phone number, and then reach out to them and say, hey, I saw you're interested in our driving school, or I saw you interested in this. I'd love to have you come in for a consultation.
That's perfect. Aleric, I know you're a wealth of knowledge and always recommending books for our group with a local business. Do you have any particular books or resources that you might recommend, and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. Oh, okay. For local businesses specifically, well, I mean, there's definitely kind of the classic books. So I do really like Psycho-Cybernetics is really good to open your mind to what's possible and really expanding beyond the main business itself. So that's a really kind of scientific way of thinking about building and creating the world that you want to build. I don't know with local business, again, like I'm a big believer in all of Simon Sinek's books are great. So actually for local businesses, I would start with Why if you haven't read it yet. It's a really, really powerful book that really helps you create like the why for why you're building your business, why you do what you do. And you probably heard Jared share, his why, and it's actually very similar to what our why is. And that's probably why, we blend so well together here. But our mission at Outreach is to empower businesses to amplify their impact and create a ripple effect on the world. And I know, Jared, you have a very, very similar mission to that, helping local businesses. Yeah. And, ultimately, I got a lot of clarity on the why behind, why I do what I do through, going through and reading Start With Why. There's also an activity kind of one that you can do, which is Find Your Why. So it's kind of an add-on book. So if you're looking for more help, he also has some courses online too. But those two books are really valuable. The Infinite Game is a really great book. And I would say that's a great one if let's say you're starting to think about franchising, right? And local businesses, that could be your next big step. And again, Jared is going to be the person to help local businesses. I work with a lot more online businesses, but I'm excited to share my expertise and knowledge here. But, maybe that next step for you is franchising or building something. If you're looking and saying, okay, what's next? How can I build something bigger? The Infinite Game is going to be really impactful for you too. And then also just the tried and true, even though it's like such a common recommendation, it's one of my favorite books is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's just, it's a transformational book that I love to return to. And that's just how I love to show up as a, person and business owner. So those are a few books that I would recommend. I think probably the best for this audience though is to Start With Why, because I can tell you most local businesses aren't reading that book. They aren't focused on their why. They aren't focused on their mission and what they're looking to do. And if you have a local business with a mission, people can feel that. The same way you can feel that Jared has a mission to help all of you, like people can feel if your local business has a mission, right? And you are here to create that. And you have that in the culture. You have that in the drinking water for your team and also for your clients.
That's awesome. Thank you for that advice. I'd love to open it up for the group. If you have any questions for Aleric you'd like to touch on, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll open up your mic and share some questions and have a little dialogue.
Awesome.
Yes, Colin here.
Yes. Hey, Colin.
How are you?
Great.
I've seen Aleric a lot on YouTube, and he's constantly sending those videos, ads. But my question, Aleric, do you have a course specifically for local businesses to help local businesses advertise on YouTube?
So that's a great question. And we have a generalized course that I think is going to be valuable and will help with local businesses as well. Our main program is not designed specifically for local businesses. So I think that's a valuable insight there. That said, we do have a course that will walk you through how to run YouTube ads that can apply to local businesses. And it's not at the same investment level that our coaching program is. And so what I would recommend is looking at our all access membership. And I can send a link to that. And I can drop that here in the chat. That's what I would recommend for you would be our all access membership for local businesses. By the way, I also have a PDF gift for everybody else here as well. So I'm going to drop both of these links, and then I'll keep answering any other questions that you have. I think Colin, sorry if I thought it was the the Fusion, but yes, it's a Colin.
Fusion.
Oh,
yes.
So much better. I love it. Fusion. Sorry about that. Sometimes when you're here live on Zoom, you're trying to like do a few things at once. So I appreciate that.
Understood.
All right.
Thanks much for your time and the response.
Yeah, you got it. This is what I would recommend for you. And this is also the discounted link. So if you go to this one, it's I think like 2/3 off. So this is like a special link for you guys. You're all part of Jared's community here. And that's going to be probably the best way to dive in and start building something like this for a local business. Now, if you're, people that have coaching, consulting, things like that, if that happens to be anybody here listening to that, that would be where, booking a strategy call would probably be the best fit, which would be adoutreach.com/apply. But if you've got a local business, I'd recommend our all access, which covers YouTube ads for a wide variety of different types of businesses. And that's going to be the best for you. And then for everybody else, I also have a free gift, and it's just adoutreach.com/gift. And this is my 19-page YouTube ad strategy PDF. It's going to walk you through step by step how you can use YouTube ads to get more leads and sales. You'll notice it does say, kind of coaching, consulting on there, but it will cover the main YouTube ad strategies. This is the other funnel that kind of leads in for coaching businesses, but it'll cover kind of the high level inside of a PDF. But if you guys want to learn how to run YouTube ads for a local business, that's going to be all access, which is the link I posted here. I think it's adoutreach.com/join-all-access. So both of those should be in the chat.
Thanks for sharing that, Aleric. I'm sure this is okay, but you good if I post that into our community as well as with this replay?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that question, Colin, too. Any other questions? Who else would like to bring a question to Aleric? Colin. I see Antra here. Hey, Antra. Good to have you on the call. Irina, Lysandra, good to have you guys. Any other questions for Aleric right now? All right, maybe not.
I guess I'll take another one concerning making those videos, Aleric. Within the course, would they also teach you how to make those videos that you talked about?
Yes. So it'll walk you through exactly how to film the videos. It'll give you what we recommend for that gimbal, the iPhone. There's also some teleprompter apps that you can use. When it comes to scripting, we'll walk you through exactly how to script out an ad, the different components, the hook, educate, call to action. Awesome. And then, of course, how to target that ad in front of different people. And we talk about inside of the course, here's what you do for local businesses. Here's how to target within a certain geographic region and all of that.
Awesome. Thanks.
You got it.
Yeah, and Colin, I've started from the very beginning on this, and so I think the way you found me was exactly what Aleric taught me how to do. Yes, you can actually use that as kind of like a frame of mind of what this could look like, but tailored to your business too.
Beautiful. That's good.
One of the things you made me remember, Aleric, is talking about producing a video, and because you're bringing it up too, Colin, is one of my best videos that I've done on YouTube is literally me sitting inside my truck, holding my camera, talking to it. And I've had people comment like, wow, it really was very low key. It felt very organic, natural. And I think in a lot of ways that has actually made it convert even better. So
exactly. That's sometimes what you see is it'll convert even better by having that natural ad because people are drawn to it and it feels authentic and it feels like the platform. It feels like YouTube. And I think that's definitely a really big piece of it too. So. Awesome.
Great. Any other questions to bring up from the group? If we don't have any other questions, that's all right. Well, Aleric, I wonder if you have any last thoughts you'd like to share with the group before we close down the live.
Awesome. Well, it's so great having everybody on here. And I also just want to say, how it's so amazing that all of you get to work here with Jared. And I can tell you, spending a lot of time with him, and he's been out here to our offices. I know that Jared's heart is really, really big and really amazing. And he's really focused on that impact. And so I'm so excited with all of you, right? If you're any reflection of what I know of Jared, I'm excited, and it's really amazing to see other great people who are out there to create an impact. So I just want to say that, I definitely admire Jared, who you are, and I'm excited to see everybody else here who is going out there and really building up your local business, creating an impact, and looking to do that. And so the last thing I'd probably say is, I would encourage you to dive into YouTube ads. I know, if you've seen like Colin, some of our ads before, a lot of the coaching clients that we have are more on the coaching, consulting, kind of course-based space, similar to, what Jared is doing. That said, when it comes to our course and our all access membership, one of the reasons we launched that is to help businesses like yours that are local businesses looking to run YouTube ads. There's a big opportunity for all of you right now to use YouTube to get in front of people who are looking for businesses like yours. And at a time when, Google search ads are getting more and more kind of saturated, people are just discovering Facebook, but there's obviously a lot of benefits over YouTube, and not many local businesses are using it. I think is a big opportunity for those of you that want to seize it. So I encourage you to do that, and I'm looking forward to seeing where you go from here.
Thanks for sharing that. And by the way, as you are all part of this community, I'm not the YouTube expert, but I have been part of Aleric's program for 3 years, and I've learned from the master himself. So if you dive into that program and have any questions about how you can tailor that for your specific local business, just reach out to me. You're in the community, so I'll be happy to give you some pointers too. Aleric, I think you've given us the links, but I was just going to ask one other really important thing. If anyone wants to reach out to you or your team, where should they go? Is it the links that you sent us, or is there any other place that you would recommend?
Yeah, so one more link that I would do, and this is if you're interested potentially doing a strategy call, and this would be if you are in the spot where you can commit $5,000 a month towards your ads, I would book a strategy call. You don't need to do, or towards your ads plus our training, right? Kind of combined. If you're in that spot, you could book a strategy call. If not, you don't need to start there with the program. You can start, as little as, $25 a day with some of these campaigns, and all access will be a good fit for you, but also drop our link for adoutreach.com/apply. If you're in that spot where you are looking to really scale, if you happen to have a coaching, consulting, course-based component, or maybe you're a franchise and you're or a bigger local business that can kind of allocate around $5,000 a month to spend, then it would make sense for us to hop on a strategy call. You can go to adoutreach.com/apply. That said, that's not how much you need to spend if you start off on your own. Our all access membership, like I said, is at that lower price point, and you also have the ability to start with a small $25 a day campaign. So check that out. And you can also go to adoutreach.com/gift for a free PDF as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aleric. This is so fun jumping on and being able to share this conversation with all of you in the group. We're going to go ahead and close the event now. Aleric, if you don't mind staying on for just a moment longer, we'll connect. And guys, if you have any follow-up questions, let me know in the community, and I will be posting this as a replay for anyone who's missed it.
Thank you for tuning into the For Impact podcast, where we're all about driving positive change through entrepreneurship. Remember, your impact matters and your journey matters. If you found inspiration in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback fuels our mission to empower impact-driven entrepreneurs like you. You can stay connected with us on social media and go to forimpactpodcast.com to take our Impact Marketing Challenge. Keep pursuing your dreams, making an impact, and living life on your terms.